tonight I'm going to be sorting out what is probably the most annoying issue I found with my L322 so far. Let's take a look. So since we did the service, I've been having issues with the fuel filter. Now, it was fine for a couple of weeks. So you remember we went on the Anglesey trip, didn't have any issues, there was no leaking, anything like that. And then slowly over time, the fuel filter has started to give us a bit of a problem. So if I just spin you around now, you should be able to see down here, this is Angus, and he has been leaving drips all over the place. It doesn't look like any drip down now, but he has been sat for a bit, and I've just moved him onto the drive. So it's definitely leaking. At first I thought it was the little water sensor underneath. I thought that wasn't connected properly. Checked that. At first that had actually come off, and that's why I thought, that'd be it, solved. Plugged it back on. Mustn't have plugged it on correctly when we did the service. Put that on, thought that'd be it, sorted. It wasn't, it kept leaking, so kept checking it, couldn't find any leaks. And then one day I was out here, been checking it over, still nothing like appearing on the fingers. Obviously with diesel it's quite oily, so it would show up quite easily when you're kind of rubbing your hand around. And I left it for about 15 minutes. I thought I'm just gonna walk away, do something else. Came back to it, checked it, and then around the seal at the top it was leaking. When we did this before, it was an absolute bugger to get to seal. So what I'm gonna do tonight is I'm gonna take it off entirely, and the fuel filter we put on, the seal on the top wasn't great. So what we've got, we have a nice new Febby Bilstein fuel filter, so an OEM filter going on rather than that recovery fuel filter that we've got. So in theory this should be a very easy job, and it should have been easy in the first place. We need 10mm spanner, this one's a ratcheting one so we can take off the bolts, pair of gloves, the new filter. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go around, I'm going to mark up these the fuel inputs onto the top of the filter housing. Just going to mark up to them their locations, and then what we're going to do is just under here we've got two 10mm bolts, so I'm going to take those out. First I'll unclip these quick clip hoses, they'll come off once I've marked them up. Take out those two 10mm bolts, and what we'll be able to do then is lift the entire thing out. So it means it saves you having to mess around with getting the air filter housing out. You could just take the top section off, but you've got to unplug the mask, take these pipes off here, feeding in, and you still can't get great access. So what we did when we serviced, you would have seen in the video if you watched it, we took the entire box out. It's a little bit of a faff, and trying to get some of these it's seated again on some of the grommets that are inside there can be a bit of a faff. So I'm thinking we'll unplug these hoses, take them off, take the bolts out, whole thing out, and what that should do is allow me to get a really good grip around this ring at the top here and get that sealed. But what I'm going to do when I take it off is give it a clean as well. So I'm going to clean it up, because I think part of the reason it's so stiff in closing is, one, it's either been cross-threaded at some point and the threads are knackered, which I probably can't do a lot about, but if it's all crudded up in there and horrible, I'll give that a good clean, give it a wipe down, lube it up, and hopefully it should mean when we put that ring on it just clicks into place, because that's as easy as it should be. And it shows on the genuine Land Rover filters the process of doing it, and it's literally you just tighten that collar up and it should be sorted. So I think loosening is clockwise, tightening is anti-clockwise. When we get the collar off inside it should tell us, so we'll have a look at that. But anyway, I'll stop rabbiting on, I'll unplug these hoses, take the thing out, and then we'll see what we've got. What I was going to say is when we put that filter in, we noticed that the seal on the new filter didn't look great, and that's what I'm wondering now, because they can't get that any tighter than it is, and it's sealed right up to the top, but that is where we're getting the diesel coming from, is sort of round that back edge. The filter sits on like a slant there, and on that edge where it's tipping that way, that's where it's coming through from. So I think the seal inside isn't great. Diesel's coming up and out through that. So take it off, we'll have a look. We've got the new one anyway. I'm going to put that one on because it's OEM and I think it's going to be better quality than the one that is on there. I've learnt my lesson with that. I went for a service kit. was supposed to be a Brit part, was a recovery. I don't know if there's any difference in quality there, but next time round when we service this again, I'm going to be buying all OEM stuff, and I think just shopping around, I'll probably get it for about the same that I paid for the Brit part kit, which I think was nearly 70 quid, something like that. And just doing some quick math earlier, pretty sure I could have got it all for about 70 quid with OEM stuff. So that's what we're going to do. I've learnt my lesson, won't be doing that again. And we should then get to, oh, come on, you bugger. A nice downward pull, he says. You can feel it coming off the screw, and there we go. That is now released. So our sensor, we can just unplug this here, and then we can remove this from the car. So what I failed to mention is that if you're taking it out of the car without removing the airbox, then you're actually probably going to have to put it in a vise or have a very strong grip to be able to undo it. So I've got a an oil filter wrench on here, and that, now you can see, has loosened off that collar, and I can hear kind of all the grit that's in there. So I'm going to give that a good clean up, take that off. What I'll do is keep the filter housing in here and then fit the new filter and everything on here. And then take it back home. I'm at my mum's, and then I can refit it to the car, which should be simple then, of just plugging back our ports in, putting the bolts back in, connecting up the sensor, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the last I see of this guy until next service time. The seal looks okay. There's a slight bit of damage here actually, which probably wasn't sealing correctly. So just see if you can see here, the seal, it's got some sort of deterioration, or it's kind of off there. But other than that, it doesn't. I mean, you can see kind of around the edges here. Consider it's a new filter, the seal doesn't look great. It's kind of all chipped and messed about. So cool, right, stop messing about, let's get it done. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this bottom part off here, which just unscrews by hand. Just be careful, the other one might not unscrew by hand, we might have to get some wrenches on it. And what I've noticed in this one, in this kit, we've got a seal here as well that we can put onto the old one, which has obviously got the water sensor on the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this one off, put that onto the new one, onto here. We've just got to drain the diesel out. So in the housing, you can see that we've got these little locating nodules inside. Just get the torch. So inside here you can see there's the large one, there's a smaller one, all the way around, that correspond to the nodules that we've got on the filter itself. So you see one there, the large one there, and this basically will just push up inside that housing in the correct orientation. Now, a lot of your filters will have an arrow on which shows where to locate it. The recovery one that we had didn't. Right, so we can see here that there's a mark on here, so whether someone's tried to mark it previously, arrow lines up with that, but as it goes in, you can feel it kind of seat into position, and it just pushes up and on, and that's basically it. It should be very simple in practice, but it's quite hard when it's on the car to get it in, get it undone, get it tightened up. You can see that around the top it's pretty clean. There's not really anything going on there that would restrict that undoing that we've seen. Just give it a quick wipe. There is some dirt in that area, so we'll give it a wipe round. So there is a small amount of muck and debris within there, but nothing to write home about. I expected to kind of see it all gunked up, but there's the sediment, I guess that's what you'd call it, in there. So we'll give that a clean anyway, because when it's, let's just have a look. I mean, pretty grotty. So I'm hoping that's going to help it going back on, because it is a bit of a faff. When we serviced him, and when we serviced Angus, and we tried to get this back on, it was an absolute nightmare to get it to tighten up, and it felt like it was way harder than it should have been. It's funny, really. I was thinking about lubricating it, and the diesel probably does a good job of that anyway, doesn't it? But that's the other thing. Once you get a bit of diesel on this, you try and get it off, it is so slippery. But hopefully now, given that a little wipe out, I was contemplating just a little spritz of WD silicone in there. Just rub that around inside that, because that should be sealed now. I'm not really worried about contamination, but what I'm hoping is a little bit of silicone grease in there is going to help it just clip on, and hopefully help with the next service when we come to take it off. So should we pop it in the vise? I'll slide that collar on, crank that on, and then install the sensor in the bottom. Okay, so I've just clamped this back on. So there is a guide marker here that you line up with this, and as you put it on, it kind of slots in, and as you tighten it, it then comes around and clips it in place directly in line with that. So that's how you know it's seated properly. So I'm pretty confident with it, and as it went into position, it clicks as an audible noise. So the other thing I just found was on the original sensor mount that goes in the bottom, someone had put an additional rubber washer in there. So rather than just the one, and this one's gone a bit crispy, so it wasn't doing a lot, this one is focus, that it also had this one on top. Now I'm not sure it's supposed to. The new filter only came with the one, and they look pretty much identical, so I've popped the new one on. We'll get that in. Hopefully that won't cause us a problem, and that actually might make that seal a little bit better. Right, that's in nice and tight, like so. And actually, while we've got it here, we can put the water sensor in as well. There we go. Nice positive connection on that. So that now is ready for installing back on the car, and what we'll do is we'll fit it back in, plug everything back on. We'll cycle the ignition a few times, which should pump any air that is in the system back to the tank, and we should be okay to start. If not, there is a little valve that we can release the air from as well, but fingers crossed we won't have to do that. We can just get this guy back on, get the fuel through, and hopefully it'll fire up nicely. Right, so I've just I cycled the ignition twice, so 30 seconds ignition, position 2. Let it come through. You can hear it on the first one. You can hear it kind of gurgling around, filling up the filter and clearing the air. Second time through it, didn't really hear anything. 30 seconds again, off. Then position 2 onto start. So fired up fine. So it seems okay at the minute. I've put a piece of cardboard underneath because there was already some drips from earlier when we took the filter off on the floor. So I'm going to leave that there overnight. It's not too windy, and then we'll just see if anything drips down. But I was just going to let it run for a little bit and see if anything appears, if there's any drips, anything like that. There might be some vibrations that dislodge some diesel that's sat there, because obviously it won't evaporate like petrol. But at the moment, I can't. It's well saturated in there from where it's been dripping, but I can't see any new drips. I've had a feel around in there, and there's a small amount of residue, which is from where I fitted it. But I can't see anything new forming, so just crossed, we've got it. What I'm hoping is that this new filter has just got a better seal on it than that Brit Part recovery one. That it's going to form a better seal and we won't have the issues that we did have. I don't think the collar was a problem, but I think because there's a gap at the back, that's just where the diesel's emanating from. It's on the slant. We're still clear down low, so I think we'll call it there. If I have any more problems, obviously I'll update you guys. I don't want to leave it running because we're pretty late now. We're in sort of like 10:30 territory, so the neighbours aren't going to be happy. So I'll call it there. Thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying the L322 content. Obviously it's bolstering up the Bob stuff, Mindy stuff and everything else we've got going on the channel. But if you're interested in L322s, you know, please consider subscribing so you can see more. And I'll catch you in the next video.